Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. India and the European Union are to begin the 10th round of negotiations for a proposed free trade agreement in Brussels. The Kremlin says Russia and the US are on a long, hard road to restore ties, but Putin and Trump have shown political will ahead of US-Ukraine talks in Riyadh. And over 500,000 flyers are facing travel disruption at German airports. A 24-hour strike over workers' wages has grounded thousands of flights. Now, India has already got free trade agreements with several countries that ensure easier access to foreign markets for Indian goods. Now, some of these are the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement or SEPA with the UAE, which allows preferential access to Indian goods in the region. India and Australia entered into Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement covering trade in goods, services, investment and related issues. Asia-Pacific Trade Agreement is an agreement between developing countries in the Asia-Pacific region, and it aims to promote intra-regional trade. India's Singapore Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement aims to strengthen bilateral trade. In February 2025, the UK government announced that it was resuming negotiations with India with the aim to get to a free trade deal. Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set for a 2-day state visit to Mauritius, during which he will also be the chief guest for the National Day of that country. The Indian High Commissioner to Mauritius, Anurag Srivastava, has shared key insights ahead of Prime Minister Modi's upcoming state visit. DD India's Akshay Dongre spoke with him ahead of the visit. Take a look.
Excitement is brewing up in Mauritius as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to arrive in the country. Both the countries share very close relations, but with this state visit of Prime Minister, the relations are expected to grow to newer heights. And to talk about the state visit, we have the Ambassador of India to Mauritius, Mr. Anurag Srivastava. Sir, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to come and be the chief guest of the National Day of Mauritius. How significant do you think is this visit by the Prime Minister?
This is a very significant visit. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's visit, which is coming up on the 11th and 12th of March, is on the invitation of Prime Minister Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, and Prime Minister Modi has been invited to be the chief guest at the National Day celebrations of Mauritius on the 12th of March. The date 12th March is of great significance to both countries. It is, of course, the day when Mauritius became independent. It was also the day when it was declared as a republic. But at the same time, this day was particularly chosen for a certain reason. This is the day when Mahatma Gandhi started his Dandi March from Sabarmati Ashram. So it is a day which holds significance to both countries. This visit is very high on symbolism. It is also very high in terms of our substantive outcomes and content. Because this is a truly special relationship.
Do you think this people-to-people connect is perhaps one of the very rare kind of connect that you see around the world between two countries?
Absolutely. This is a truly special relationship, as I said, because it is placed on the bedrock of our strong people-to-people ties. And these shared bonds of history, the shared bonds of culture, heritage and kinship that bind us together is the strength of the relationship. But at the same time, I must add that this relationship has evolved into a modern partnership which is very multifaceted. So Mauritius is our partner in terms of our interests in the Indian Ocean region. It is a maritime security partner. We have a development partnership relationship with Mauritius.
Indian High Commissioner to Mauritius, Mr. Anurag Srivastava, telling us about all the preparations that are going on and the excitement that is brewing up in this island nation for the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. With camera person Ajit Kumar, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
And New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon will be travelling to India from the 16th to the 20th of this month as Delhi-Wellington plan to firm up ties with focus on the wider Indo-Pacific region. This would be the first visit to India by Prime Minister Luxon in his present capacity. During this visit, Prime Minister Laxan will hold talks with Prime Minister Modi on the 17th of this month, covering various aspects of India-New Zealand relations. Prime Minister Modi will also host a lunch in the honour of the visiting dignitary. A call on President Draupadi Murmu is scheduled on the same day. The visiting Prime Minister will join the inaugural session of the 10th Raisina Dialogue 2025 on the 17th of this month in New Delhi as the chief guest and deliver the keynote address. Armenian Foreign Affairs Minister Ararat Mirzoyan is meeting External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar in New Delhi on Monday. The Armenian Foreign Minister arrived in New Delhi on Sunday on a two-day visit. During his visit, the foreign dignitary will also deliver a lecture at the Indian Council of World Affairs. Armenian Foreign Minister Mirzoyan earlier visited India in April 2022 to participate in the Raisina Dialogue. India and Armenia share friendly relations rooted in historical ties between the people of the two countries. In 2022, the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Armenia was celebrated. Now, Armenian Foreign Minister Mirzoyan has also said that he wants closer and stronger ties with India in the changing world, as both the countries have entered into 30th year of their diplomatic relations. Highlighting the strategic importance of trilateral cooperation between Armenia, India and Iran, particularly concerning the development of the Chabahar port, he emphasized that enhancing connectivity through Chabahar would not only bolster regional trade, but also strengthen economic ties among the three nations. He also stressed on India's strong engagement with Eurasian Economic Region. The Armenian Foreign Minister was speaking at the 52nd Sapro House lecture at the Indian Council of World Affairs in New Delhi. The lecture, titled Armenia and India in a Changing World, Strengthening Ties, Securing Futures, was chaired by L. Prashant Pise, Acting Director General of ICWA.
We aim to substantially increase bilateral trade volumes in the coming years, focusing our efforts on facilitating Armenian companies to establish business connections with India. Armenia is deeply interested in advancing dialogue and cooperation with the International North-South Transport Corridor project and the Chabahar Port Development Initiative. In this regard, the Armenia-India-Iran trilateral cooperation format is of great significance. Armenia and India can establish mutually beneficial cooperation across every sphere: high-tech, IT, education, science, tourism, aviation, logistics, and pharmaceuticals stand out as particularly promising areas for our partnership.
This day, which is the 10th of March, marks the 56th raising day of India's premier Central Industrial Security Force. This day is observed to acknowledge and honour the dedication and sacrifices of CISF personnel in safeguarding the nation's key assets.
The Central Industrial Security Force, CISF, is celebrating its 56th raising day today. The CISF was established in 1969 with just 3 battalions to provide consolidated security cover to some sensitive public sector undertakings. It was on 13th August 1968 that the CISF bill was passed by the Parliament, which got President's assent on 2nd December 1968. The Central Industrial Security Force Act 1968 came into force on 10th March 1969. Since 1969, the forces evolved into a major multi-skilled organization with a current strength of over 1,88,000 personnel. At present, the CISF provides security cover to 359 establishments across the country. CISF has 74 other formations, including 12 reserve battalions and 8 training institutes. CISF is the only force with a customized and dedicated fire wing, which serves 115 establishments. CISF is providing security to the strategic establishments, including the Department of Space, the Department of Atomic Energy, the airports, the Delhi Metro, ports, power plants, and other highly sensitive assets of the country. Additionally, the CISF safeguards important government buildings, prestigious heritage monuments, the Parliament House complex, and central jails in Jammu and Kashmir. CISF is providing protection to some private sector units and important government buildings in Delhi as well. CISF is also providing security to the protected persons classified as Z+, Z, X and Y. CISF is a compensatory cost force, which means that the entity CISF is protecting is required to pay for the security services provided.
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Ceasefire talks are set to resume between Israel and the Hamas in Doha with widening differences. Does the US have leopards? Well, almost, but scientists are fighting hard to keep the ocelot from being wiped out.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to visit Saudi Arabia on Monday for key talks with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This comes ahead of a crucial meeting between Ukrainian and US officials later this week. The discussions aim to establish a framework for ending Ukraine's ongoing conflict with Russia, but with US aid to Kyiv currently paused, the stakes are really high. Here's more.
As clashes continue in Ukraine, the efforts to secure peace will hinge upon a crucial meeting in Saudi Arabia this week. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will hold key talks with Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Monday. This will be followed by Ukrainian representatives meeting with the American team on Tuesday. Zelensky has vowed to persist in efforts to end the conflict. He is pushing for renewed peace efforts and has expressed hope for progress in talks.
We will continue working to bring peace closer. There will be my visit to Saudi Arabia. Also today, the meeting saw our teams, Ukraine and the United States in Saudi Arabia, is further prepared. We hope for results both in preparing closer and in continuing support.
US President Donald Trump expressed optimism, saying that he believed significant progress would be made during the week.
Let's see what happens with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. I think you're going to have eventually, and maybe not in the distant future, you're going to have some pretty good results coming out of Saudi Arabia this week. Well, I think they will sign the minerals deal, but I want them to want peace.
The US is planning to use Tuesday's meeting to determine whether Ukraine is willing to make concessions to end the conflict. US will also determine whether Ukraine is indeed serious about improving ties. The talks come after last month's disastrous meeting between Trump and Zelensky, which erupted into a live verbal spat. The meeting in Saudi Arabia will decide whether the US support to Ukraine resume or the stance toughens further. Without some concessions, the prospects of a handshake look slim. European nations have pledged to increase defense spending, but NATO data shows that last year, Washington provided over 40% of Ukraine's military aid, something that Europe may now struggle to replace. Anamika Pandey's report, DD India.
And US Secretary of State Marco Rubio is also expected to land in Riyadh today itself. We'll track that for you. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has said on Monday that Russia sees restoring ties with the United States as a long, hard task, but Presidents Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump have expressed their political will to move ahead. Now, ahead of the high-level diplomatic talks between the US and Ukraine and Saudi Arabia, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov also said that it's important to understand if Kyiv wants peace or not.
We are at the early stage when it comes to restoring of our bilateral ties. A long road lies ahead, a hard one. But at least the two presidents expressed political will to this effect.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will host a virtual talks on Saturday among leaders of nations willing to help support a ceasefire in Ukraine. The meet comes after a summit of European and other leaders in London last month aimed at shoring up support for Kyiv. The group named Coalition of the Willing is said to include about 20 countries. The navies of Iran, Russia and China held a joint maritime security belt 2025 exercise in Iran on Monday. The exercise is aimed at strengthening military ties between the three nations as they seek to counterbalance US hegemony and challenge the Western-led global order. This was the fifth joint naval exercise that was held near the Iranian port of Chabahar in the Gulf of Oman. Iran sent a stealth missile corvette and a patrol ship to take part in the drill. Now shifting focus to the Israel-Hamas conflict, where talks to prolong the fragile ceasefire, the first phase of which ended on the 1st of March, are expected to resume in Qatar on Monday. Israel wants the Hamas to accept an extension of the first phase of their ceasefire, but the Hamas wants to start negotiations on the ceasefire's second phase, which was to see the release of the remaining hostages from Gaza, the withdrawal of Israeli forces, and a permanent end to the war. The Hamas is believed to be holding 24 living hostages as well as the remains of 35 others. Meanwhile, Israel has ordered all of Gaza's electricity supply to be cut off on Sunday in an effort to pressure the Hamas into releasing the remaining Israeli hostages held in the territory. Energy Minister Eli Cohen's announcement came a week after Israel cut off all aid supplies to the territory, which has a population of more than 2 million people. After days of violence and mass killings, Syria's defense ministry announced on Monday the end of a major security operation in the coastal provinces. According to a statement by defense ministry spokesperson Abdul Ghani, that security forces had neutralized security threats and regime remnants in the Latakia and Tartus provinces on the Mediterranean coast. He added that plans are in place to continue combating the remnants of the former government and eliminate any future threats. This comes after a war monitoring group reported that clashes between Assad loyalists and the country's new Islamist rulers in the former President Assad's coastal heartland have killed more than 1,000 people, mostly civilians. In Germany, a 24-hour strike by Frankfurt airport workers has led to thousands of flight cancellations in a dispute about workers' pay. The strike called by the Verdi union on Friday has impacted 13 airports across the country, including Munich, Berlin and Düsseldorf. The operator of Frankfurt Airport has said no passenger flights would depart on Monday, with delays and cancellations also possible on Tuesday. Workers at Hamburg Airport brought their strike forward by one day, with nearly 300 flight cancellations there on Saturday. Now, more than 500,000 people are facing travel disruptions at German airports. Of the 1,116 incoming and outbound flights planned in Frankfurt on Monday, 1,050 had already been cancelled, with that number expected to rise further. And joining us with more on this is DW's correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu in Berlin. Hi there, Chiponda. What are the striking workers really demanding?
The trade union wants a collective wage agreement for 2.5 million public sector workers, and its demands include an 8% wage hike. Now, that is something that would amount to at least 350 euros more for every worker's salary. Now, Verdi also wants higher bonuses for stressful jobs and 3 additional days off. Now, it's worth noting that the trade union is calling this a warning strike, and it comes after a second round of wage negotiations for public sector employees fell through. The employers, that is the local authorities and the federal government, have said that Verdi's proposals are not financially feasible. And it would cost local authorities around 11% more, which is nearly 15 billion euros a year. And the extra time off would mean that the authorities would have to reduce the services they offer. Now, these strikes aren't just affecting air travelers or air travel. They are also affecting workers in healthcare and childcare who have also been striking. And local authorities and the government, though, are yet to present a counter offer. And we may get to see more of where this is heading on Friday. And that is, of course, when the next round of negotiations are set to take place.
Scientists in London have developed an AI tool called MELD Graph, which is capable of detecting invisible brain abnormalities that often cause epilepsy. This technology identifies approximately 2/3 of the tiny abnormalities that human radiologists tend to miss when analyzing MRI scans. After spending a decade on its development, the team trained MELD Graph using MRI data from over 700 individuals diagnosed with focal cortical dysplasia, a common cause of epilepsy. Epilepsy affects around 1 in 100 people globally, with structural brain abnormalities responsible for about 20% of the cases. While MELD Graph is not yet available for clinical use, the team has made the software open source and is providing training for clinicians and researchers worldwide to help them use it effectively. Sports star and Indian skipper Rohit Sharma also broke silence on his retirement after leading India to a historic Champions Trophy win. There was a lot of buzz around the Indian captain retiring from this format, but Rohit has finally put an end to all the speculation in his post-match press conference on Sunday. Rohit Sharma ensured that his time in the 50-over format is far from over and he will not be retiring from ODIs. He said, and I quote, "I am not going to retire from this format just to make sure that no rumours are spread moving forward." Arsenal's hopes of winning the Premier League suffered a fresh blow as Manchester United held the Gunners to a 1-1 draw. United captain Bruno Fernandes put the hosts ahead with a superb free kick in the first half stoppage time, while Declan Rice's clinical finish inside the United area helped Arsenal level the score. But Mikel Arteta's side couldn't find a winner and now sit 15 points adrift of Liverpool. Despite having a game, Arsenal looks certain to miss out on the title yet again after finishing as runners-up in the last 2 seasons. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.